All right, let's forget about the fancy charts, the indicators, all the technical stuff for just a minute. We're going to talk about the one thing that truly separates the 99% of traders who lose money from that tiny 1% who actually make it. And that one thing is mindset. This is all about completely rewiring the way you think about the market so you can finally stop losing and start building real, actual wealth for the long haul.
You know, for so many of us, it all starts with this kind of fantasy, doesn't it? You see a movie like that, you see the crazy energy, the fast money, and you get this rush. You think, hey, I could do that. Why am I working this boring 9 to 5 when I could just be trading stocks and making a fortune? It's a really powerful idea, and honestly, it's how a ton of people get their start. But then, reality comes crashing in. And man, does it hit hard. The person behind this whole explainer, they're super honest about it. The first 3 years were just a total mess, a financial disaster. We're not talking about breaking even, we're talking about losing money constantly. And look, this isn't just one person's story. This is basically the initiation for almost every new trader who jumps in with that Hollywood dream stuck in their head.
So what is actually going on here? Why is there this huge, massive gap between the dream and what really happens? Well, it all boils down to this destructive cycle. It's like a psychological trap that keeps new traders stuck, bleeding money, and eventually just giving up completely. So let's break down exactly what that trap looks like.
And here we go. This is really the root of the entire problem. You go on social media, on YouTube, and what do you see? Lamborghinis, fancy watches, screenshots of people making, 100 grand in a single day. This whole get-rich-quick culture, it creates this totally warped expectation of reality. It tricks you into believing that if you're not making life-changing money right now, today, then you're failing. But that's not how it works. It's just a carefully crafted illusion.
This slide right here just perfectly explains that psychological trap. So look, on the left, you've got trader A. They've got a small account, $100. They make a great trade, a 5% return, and it's $5. Barely enough for a cup of coffee. How do they feel? Frustrated, like a failure. Now on the right, you have trader B. They also make 5%, but on $1 million account. That's a $50,000 profit. They feel like a genius, a total success. But here's the thing, and this is so important. They did the exact same work, they got the exact same percentage return. The only difference is how they feel about it because they're obsessed with the dollar amount, not the actual process.
And that feeling of frustration, that I only made $5 feeling, it leads you straight into these 3 catastrophic account-killing mistakes. First, you start raising your risk to crazy levels to chase those big returns. Then you start taking sloppy trades that you know you shouldn't just because you're impatient. And finally, you just rush the whole process, trying to squeeze money out of the market instead of letting the good trades come to you. And that right there is the perfect recipe for blowing up your account.
So how in the world do you break out of this cycle? The answer is a complete 180, a total shift in how you think. It's about throwing that get-rich-quick fantasy in the trash and adopting the kind of mindset that has actually built real fortunes for centuries. Let's take a look at how the real pros actually think.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The story goes that when Warren Buffett was asked why more people don't just copy his wildly successful strategy, this was his answer. It's a get-rich-slowly scheme. People just don't like that. And that's the whole point. We're all wired for instant gratification. We want the win right now. But real, lasting wealth, that's built by having a much, much longer time horizon than everybody else.
This is it. This is the core message, the absolute bedrock of success. It's not about what you can make this week or even this month. It's about the wealth you can systematically, patiently build over the next 5, 10, even 20 years. Shifting your focus from trying to sprint for quick cash to running a marathon for true financial freedom, that is the single most important change you can possibly make.
Okay, so if you're not supposed to chase those huge, risky home runs, how do you actually build a fortune? Well, the answer isn't sexy or glamorous, but it is a mathematical force of nature. It's the power of compounding. Let's really see how this engine for wealth works.
Let's start with something small, something totally relatable. Just $1,000, okay? This isn't some crazy hedge fund number or lottery winnings. It's a realistic starting point for a lot of people. And our target is that same 5% a month. Now remember, for a skilled professional trader, hitting 5% a month is a phenomenal return. It's absolutely achievable. We're not talking about 1,000% gain here. We're talking about a consistent professional level goal. So after your first month, you've made $50.
And this moment, right here, this is the whole game. This is where trader A, from our earlier example, gets totally frustrated and either quits or does something really stupid. $50. It feels pointless. It won't even cover a nice dinner out. But what if you don't give in to that feeling?
So let's just play this out. What if you ignored that $50 and just became obsessed with the process? You hit that 5% target, month in and month out, and you reinvest every single penny. You just let that tiny little snowball start rolling downhill, gathering more snow, getting bigger, getting faster, for 20 years. What does that initial $1,000 become?
$121 million. No, that is not a typo. By consistently hitting a professional target and just letting your money work for you over the long run, that tiny little starting stake turns into an absolute fortune. This is the unstoppable magic of the marathon mindset.
So the huge lesson here is this. Your job is not to make a ton of money on any one trade. Your job is to execute your strategy perfectly and hit your percentage target. You have to focus on the process, on the 5%, not on the initial dollar amount. You build dynasties with consistent base hits, not by constantly swinging for the fences and striking out.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. 20 years is a long time. And yeah, it is. But the good news is, while the compounding part takes time, you can dramatically speed up the part where you become a trader who can actually get those consistent returns. You do not have to suffer through 3 years of losses to figure this all out on your own.
I mean, the logic here is just simple and undeniable, right? If you want to get good at something, you learn from people who are already great at it. You wouldn't try to learn how to be an NFL quarterback by just throwing a ball in your backyard. You'd want to be coached by the best. Well, guess what? Trading is the exact same thing.
When you put yourself in a community of profitable traders, it's like getting a cheat code to the game. You get to see how they think. You can share one of your trade ideas, and an expert can point out a fatal flaw in like 2 seconds, a mistake that could have cost you thousands of dollars and months of frustration to figure out by yourself. You get to see their whole process, not just the shiny end result. That feedback loop literally compresses years of learning into just weeks. And look, you don't have to take my word for it. The proof is right there in what other people experience. People who actually do this, who learn from those who've already walked the path, they see a real, tangible, often life-changing difference in their trading and how they understand the markets.
So in the end, it all comes down to this one fundamental choice. Are you going to be trader A, getting frustrated over $50 profits, always chasing that impossible get-rich-quick dream until you eventually blow up your account? Or are you going to adopt the billionaire's mindset, focus on the process, and patiently, systematically build a real, lasting fortune? The choice is entirely up to you.